I'm here with Miles, Bonny, and Approach, and we are here in the bottom of the jackpot. So you guys started out working together probably long before Algebra Pro, but could you talk about what the inspiration for Algebra Pro was?
The inspiration was that probably Approach and I wanted to work together for a long time, but because he was already way more famous by the time he started working on Ultra Proteus, and I was just learning how to make, I wasn't even really making beats yet, then it was just kind of a way for me to piggyback on his name and to kind of just spread my music around the world.
That sounds like a good strategy. What's your take on the inspiration?
I was re-releasing Ultra Proteus with a label called Coup d'Etat out of New York. And for all the people around here, which was the only fan base that I thought I really had, they had already purchased the original EP that I did, which was Ultra Proteus, and I wanted to give them something new. I was really a big fan of a record that Miles had done with ID from Archetype called The Find. So I wanted to kind of do my version of that record with Miles. I had an idea for an alias called Algebra Pro. Miles had beats because he was in the process of going in on a second Sounds Good album, and they were recording, and they had some other stuff sitting to the side. So we got together. Jamal told him to make sure that it wasn't better than the Sounds Good album. And
did he say that?
Yeah. It was fun. He was right. He should have said that.
They had major beef back then, too.
Not at all.
Because of KJHK.
Because of KJHK.
Something Jamal said on my show.
On Miles' show. Then I went up next week and rap battled.
Yeah.
So going back to your start, you guys were kind of part of the Lawrence golden era of hip-hop. And how would you see, or how would you describe like the transition from being a large group of people in one area to kind of spreading out into Kansas City and different areas, and how it's impacted both your career and maybe other people's that you've been close to?
Wow, dude. That's a legend.
James is the man. I think for me personally, it's an amazing thing because there's people, when we talked about this briefly the other day, everybody that was part of that scene, from the documentary days is what I think you're referencing, is still in some capacity working within the arts, whether it's music, any aspect of the arts. And like, it's grown from a little place in Lawrence, Kansas City, to all over the United States, and some people are abroad. So that's a powerful thing. I'm very, very happy that I was in a great place at the right time, and that I was just a kid having fun with other kids. And like, in that, it led us to our passion, and our joy has led to something that we're continuing to do, whether it's a full-time hobby or a part-time hobby. And, I mean, that's amazing. That's all I ever wanted to be a part of. You know what I mean? I always wanted to be a part of, like, a group of people doing something progressive. And I believe that's what we were doing, and I believe that's what we're still doing.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of things going through my head, but one thing that I thought about as listening to Approach speak is the fact that it was a really supportive time, because not only was it before, like, it was Napster era, you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of music being shared, but it wasn't as though anything that came out new you would automatically get for free. It was like, it was really hit or miss on Napster. And just to say, I'm putting it in the context of today, where because of digital music culture, there is less of a reel in front of you. Oh, I put out a CD. Oh, let's go do this show. That doesn't exist as much, I don't think. I think it's a much more individualistic culture right now, and it will be increasingly so, but I think there will be some sort of return to a sense of community, because there's really no other way for things to exist other than that, as, showcased by the many things going on in the world around us that are very much based upon corporate control and or governments and corporations. So anyway, people bonding together will be something that returns. I'm most sad that there aren't, magically, I guess, the set of factors and individuals in this town, or in any town, in every town, working together to highlight and support the creative endeavors of others. Because really that's all it was, was that Approach was here. He was very much a leader as an individual artist. He had a lot of energy, he had focus, he had drive, he had more experience than a lot of people. And then Archetype was here, and then I would watch, and I was like, man, I always want to make beats. Jeremy, how do I make beats? So Nesbeat, from Archetype, he was the first person I saw make beats, and as a result, I got a keyboard, and then I got an APC. And then that just kind of grew. And then I'd say outside of the artists, structurally, I'd say there's 3 or 4 components. One, the willingness of venues to do shows, which is still somewhat current and happening now, it seems. Edwin Morales and Allison for Project Groove and their series of bringing hip hop acts on a very independent level, which was supported by Avalanche and then kind of the Jesse Jacksons and the people on the more professional level who are still doing it, but not really concentrating on hip hop like they were. Beyond that, the LawrenceHipHop.com website was really important, and although I oversaw it and kind of had the ideas for it, there's a bunch of people involved. There was certain individual who remain unnamed who actually did the layout for the site and had a good ability there. Andrew Giesel, who's now at Harvard and has been for years now, for free, testing biological activity digitally or something like crazy like that. And then Kevin Green, who helped me with a lot of like the really basic web knowledge, and who's now up in Chicago working for he was working for the Japanese embassy. Like legally he was working in Japan when he was in Chicago or something like that. Just like if anybody wants to see some sort of, I don't know what happens here anymore, but like if you want to see some sort of culture and community develop, the primary thing is infrastructure. It needs to have a support system. It needs to have someone that is being mindful of everybody that they perceive to be within that community, at the heart of the community. They need to provide a place for dialogue. They need to provide a place that other people that have no idea the community exists can learn about it, aka the media and such. So like anybody can do that with anything. You can we can start. This can become the toothpick capital of the world if someone wants to focus on toothpick culture and develop a night, an event, a club, and then eventually make their own toothpicks, and then like blah blah. Like it's super simple. You just got to do it. So like it doesn't matter where you are, just do it. And if it's not happening, it's probably your fault. Thank you.
To close up the interview and talk about another substantial part of Lawrence scene in general. Why we're here is Love Garden. I was wondering if you guys could comment on maybe, I know Miles worked there and you've had a great long time purchasing albums there, and I was wondering if you could comment on like a story or like a memory or maybe like why it's important to you. Kind of a simple but good question.
Man, I mean, as someone who lives in Kansas City now, there's nothing like this in Kansas City. There's a couple people that try to make attempts. Some of those stores I've never even visited because I know I've experienced those people before, and I know that they're not capable of an environment or an infrastructure. I mean, exactly what I said. Like Love Garden is basically a clubhouse for independent music on all formats. The fact that they not only carry old vinyl, but they carry new vinyl. That is, they carry reissues that are new and new music on vinyl. They carry new CDs and old CDs. They carry tapes. Yeah. They make their own shirts. They have cats. Yeah. There's all these awesome things about that place that I'm sure if you were to put out, like, make a graph of all the things Love Garden has going for it and then put up any other store outside of size, like I've never been to Amoeba, whatever. There's lots of other great stores, Dusty Groove, but the culture of Love Garden to me and the love that people have for what happens there and the people that really identify with that store, there's a community out there that I think hopefully continues to support it in the way it needs to be supported. I don't know anything about the finances and all that, but by all means, like, it's an independent, quality audio boutique, basically. Who doesn't want to have that around? Like, I wish I could clone it.
And look at all, right now we're below there's probably 150 people up here, and it's 9:30. Like, all these people are out celebrating and appreciation for this wonderful store. And for me personally, it's where, like, I grew up in Kansas City in the Recycled Sound days, and like, and may she rest in peace, and all these wonderful people that were educating me on hip hop. But when I came up here in like 98, that's when my 12-inch library of like all these records that I read about that were like mythical, I came up here and they were in the store. And so that's where I developed my love of like Mad Lib and Loopback and like, and I could talk to Kelly or any of the folks in there about things that were interesting to me, and then I would show up 2 weeks later and it would be in there. And so that goes a long way, that had a lot to do with like raising me on the taste that I had and being able to find and actually hold and look at these records that I was really digging, and then also being able to learn about coming in and dealing with a store. Like when I started running my own business, they were like the first place that would take our records in and put them in for all of us. You know, they would put all of our records in on the shelf, and people would come in and buy our records in the same places where we were buying Quasimodo records and blah, 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 blah. So it's, I mean, Love Garden, as I babble about it, because I can talk about it all the time, is just like, it's a special place in the heart of a great community, and it holds its place as part of what makes that community great, you know? And you can't replace that. There's really nothing you can say about it. It's like a family member, you know? It's like the family member whose house you really want to go over to. Yeah. It's like, because every time you go over there, you're going to learn something. And that's kind of what Love Garden is for me, you know?
I'm just still mad I don't work there anymore. The only reason I stopped working there is because I had to move to Kansas City, and it cost me more to go to work than it did, you know, to bring home and pay bills and stuff. So I still wish I worked there, basically.
Yeah, you guys are up.
Yeah, we're up. Hey, what was one of your top 10 records of 2010?
I believe it was Incense and Wine.
Yeah. Was it really? Yeah. Did I send that in?
Well, you did. I have it, and I'm going to review it.
All right. Did I send that in the mail?
Yeah.
This is what happened. I put it in an envelope, and then it sat in an envelope addressed to KJHK for about, 5 months in my house. And then I was like, I hate going to the post office. Because my post office on Troost, you can imagine, is not the most user-friendly. The post office is horrible. They're digging themselves a grave. I had the person. This is separate, but I had the manager of the post office call to apologize for something, and all they ended up doing was telling me how messed up their post office was. I was like, "You're the manager. Like, why are you telling me the fact that the unions and this and that and blah blah? No, and and she's lazy. Like, yo, give me my mail, dude. And when I get there, have more than one teller working. If there's like 20 people in line."
Period. There's a 3 teller rule. For every 10 people, we need 3 tellers.
You should manage a post office.
Yeah.
I would be amazing at managing a post office. It would have music. Why is there no music? Why is there...
They still do that thing at the post office here on tax day.
What was that?
Food and stuff. Like
that's amazing.
They did.
What is that? That's April...
They would do it every time down here.
Is that April... What's the tax day?
April 15th?
15? I want to go there.
Actually, I think... You might...
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. You know a lot of stuff. You're more Kansas than me, and you're from the East Coast.
My dad's from Kansas.
Yeah, true. I'm not trying to blow your spot. You just have a lot of good information.
You're telling people things that they don't know. Or are you telling things that...
Miles Bonny...
Show your ignorance?
I am showing my ignorance.
Well, we would like to thank Miles Bonny and Approach for coming on Ad Astra Radio and KJHK.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, and you guys are up.
Clutching the mound, theme of my sound, sleeping browns, music for grown fools, they vocals on Pro Tools. I told you I'm